Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Jaded Blossom has an adorable new Christmas release that's now available. Here's a quick look at the new October 2025 release from Jaded Blossom. Lots of great goodies for your Christmas projects. I'll start with the Noel Stacked Word Die. This is currently not available individually. This is the freebie you'll receive if you purchase at least $50 worth of product, and one item must be from the new release. This is for a limited time or while supplies last. There's a new stencil set. This one is Christmas Tree Stencil. There are 2 layers, one with the stars and the other one with the trees. And I think you could use each of the stencil layers individually. So if you just want stars or you just want trees, that is an option. Next up is a die set. This one is Ornament Die's Santa's Sleigh. I'll open up the package so you can get an idea of the size of the dies. There's a large Santa sleigh, and this does basically fill an A2 size card. It also includes the sitting Santa. There's Santa's giant bag filled with presents, and also 3 individual presents. Remove the sleigh die piece, and I'll grab an A2 size card base so you can see how large this die is. And the sleigh will only fit on an A2 size card horizontally. It'll overhang on a vertical card. And the hat that's included on the Santa gnome is the standard gnome hat. So you could swap out some of their different hats on this gnome. It's really fun that the gnome's face is slightly profile instead of straight on like most of the gnomes. The next die set is Build an Ornament, and this is a really fun set. There are 2 different styles or shapes of ornaments, and it also includes a pine branch. We pull these out of the bag so you can get an idea of the sizes. There are lots of different pieces so you can decorate your ornaments. There's the little pinwheel looking piece you could put on the round ornament to look like a peppermint candy. I love the snowflake. There's some small polka dots, some stripes. And what's really fun, Jaded Blossom also has an add-on set to go with the Build an Ornament. This one is Character. And you can create a wide variety of fun ornaments with this add-on set. But you will need the original Build an Ornament set for the round base piece. And I know by looking at just the dies, it can be a little confusing of what you could create. But just some ideas, you can do a Santa, a couple different elf styles, some with the face, some with just the elf outfit. There's also the option to make gingerbread men, a reindeer, and a snowman. And I'm sure there are lots of other possibilities with all the dies included. Here's a look at one of the new stamp sets. It's called From Our Tree to Yours. Now you can use this stamp set and add sentiments on the back of the ornaments after you've created them using the new Build an Ornament die set. But you could also use many of them on a card. Next up, we have a new gnome friend. This one is super cute. It's a mouse. And of course, we have the stamp set with the mouse faces. Now, this one isn't necessarily Christmas. You could use the mouse any time of the year. Jaded Blossom has so many fun gnome friends, and I think the mouse is a great new addition. And look at these adorable faces on the stamp set. And with the introduction to the new mouse, we have a stamp set called Say Cheese, and there are also outline dies. I love the variety of sentiments. A few of them are Christmas, but most of them you could use throughout the year. And with Jaded Blossom's MDF pieces being super popular, they do have some new shapes to go with the release. So there's the round ornaments and also the mouse image. And for the mouse, there's the two different options, the hang tag ring or the mouse with the stand. So that's everything in the new release, and if you are interested, I do have links in the description box below. And of course, I have several cards to share using some of the new release items. For card design number 1, the pattern paper I'm using is from Doodlebug Designs' Berry Sweet collection. This first card is the only one that's not a Christmas card. I will be using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from Cards TV. It's sketch number 58. And if you're interested in this sketch, including measurements, I share all that information on my coordinating blog post. The link is in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. I did change the measurements just a tiny bit. For that background floral piece, I cut it just a little bit smaller than what's indicated on the card sketch. It's 3 7/8 of an inch by 5 1/8 of an inch. And I layered it on the red and pink polka dot paper, and that piece is A2 size. On the left side, I added a strip of the green tone-on-tone gingham paper. For the image box, I used some white shimmer cardstock, and I'm layering it on some of the red and pink polka dot pattern paper. And that pattern paper layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. This is where I'll be adding one of the new mouse images. And to give the mouse something to sit on, I cut a narrow strip of the same red and pink polka dot paper, and I'm adding it at the bottom of this white shimmer panel. And that narrow strip is 5/8 of an inch by 2 1/4 of an inch. For a little extra detail on the inside of the card, I'm adding one of the leftover pattern paper strips. Now I'll set that aside and start assembling the mouse. And I've already die cut and stamped the rest of the pieces, and I have them stored in Spellbinder's medium size craft stack tray. For this card, I'm making a gray mouse. For the background piece, I used the same gray cardstock, although you could use any color since it will be covered up completely. I use a lighter gray cardstock for the mouse's stomach and also the mouth area, the little muzzle. I like how Jaded Blossom includes the individual pieces for the body, the ears, the mouth, the tail. It gives the image more of a finished detail with those individual pieces, plus you could use different colors. On the set, there's just the face piece that doesn't have any of the stitching on the inside. It does have that faux outline stitching. This is the piece you can use if you want to add the stamped face. And that's what I'll be doing for this mouse, although I am gluing on that lighter muzzle gray piece. I'll set that aside for now and assemble the feet. There are 2 different feet options on the set. I'm using the one where you see the bottom of the feet, so it's the mouse sitting. But there's also an option with the feet that are standing. And later on in the video, I will show one of the mouse images with the standing feet. Before I assemble the rest of the mouse, I want to stamp the face. I'm grabbing my mini Misty, and inside the Misty, I have Scrapbook.com's mini Grip Mate. So this is a super sticky mat that fits perfectly inside the mini Misty. They also have a larger size that fits inside the regular Misty. And this works great for stamping on small die cut images. With the sticky, tacky surface, it'll hold on to the die cut so I can easily stamp multiple times and I don't have to try to add a magnet or tape down the die cut. I selected the face with the closed eyes with eyelashes, the little crooked mouth with the tongue sticking out, super cute. Now I am stamping the nose and I know it's going half off of that light gray piece, but no worries, I'll be adding one of the die cut noses on top. So now it's time to assemble the rest of the mouse, and I'll glue the die cut pieces on my cut down version of Scrapbook.com's project grip mat. This is so handy since I tend to get a little messy with glue, and it's super easy to clean this mat compared to my workspace mat. I used a slightly darker pink cardstock color for the nose, and I'll just glue that on top, covering up that black stamped nose. And I did do just a little bit of coloring with a Copic marker. I used the RV29 color for the mouse's tongue. So now I'll glue the mouse's face down, then I'll add the solid gray piece for the 2 ears. For the inside of the ears, the larger piece, I used a lighter pink cardstock. And then right above the ear, I used the same gray that I used for the rest of the mouse. After adding each piece, I'm making sure they're lined up perfectly with those background layers. So now do the same thing for the second ear. That larger pink piece I'm putting down first, and then just that tiny bit of gray goes above it. Jaded Blossom did such a great job on the faces for the mouse. This one just cracks me up. I love the little tongue sticking out. For the mouse's feet, I will pop them up with some foam dimension. I'm using the small foam squares from Scrapbook.com. This is their 1 millimeter thickness, so it adds just a little extra dimension. I'll put 1 square at the bottom of the feet, and there's not enough space to add a second one, so I will cut a square in half and put it behind the top area, the toes of the feet. I'll remove the release paper, attach the feet, and this mouse will hold a little teal heart. And the heart die is from Jaded Blossom's original Embellishment Cluster die set. This is the largest size heart on that set. There are 2 different options for the paws or hands for the mouse. The set I'm using is more of the arms, but there's also just the paws. I'll add the heart down first, and I did put it at a slight angle. Then I'll attach the 2 little arms so it looks like the mouse is hugging this heart. So now I'll grab the card, put glue on the back of the mouse, and I'll adhere it just on top of that red and pink polka dot strip, make it look like it's sitting on that area. There are quite a few cardstock layers on this mouse, plus the little bit of foam for the feet, so I decided not to pop up the mouse with any more foam. And I will place a large acrylic block on top of the mouse while the glue dries. For a sentiment, I've already stamped and cut this out. Have a mice day. The bottom portion of this sentiment will go off of this image panel, and I did add a foam strip there. And to keep it at the same level, I'm adding a scrap cardstock piece behind the top area of the sentiment. I'll remove the release paper from the foam, put glue behind that cardstock area, and adhere it in the lower right-hand corner of the image box. For a little bit of sparkle on the card, I'm using Love from Lizzie's mini circle peel-offs. This is the silver holographic color, and I'm using the largest size circle. I'll put 3 in the upper right-hand corner and 2 in the lower left-hand corner. And for a final finishing touch, using a white gel pen and adding a few little polka dots inside the pink area of the ears. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. Now on to card design number 2. I used Spellbinders in the Pines embossing folder on some green cardstock to add this fun detail. I'll layer this piece on some darker green cardstock, and the emboss panel is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and that darker green panel is 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. I'll put adhesive on the back and add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. This card will be featuring one of the ornament shapes. I use white cardstock for the background piece. This will all be covered up. For the main ornament, I'm using some blue pearlescent cardstock from my stash. Glue that piece down. And for the top area of the ornament where you'll add a hook, I use some light gray pearlescent cardstock from my stash. Before that glue dries completely, I'll make sure both of those pieces are lined up perfectly on the background piece. I love this stitch detail on the front of the ornament, and it lines up perfectly with the snowflake image. And I use some silver holographic mirror paper from my stash for that snowflake. After adhering it down with glue, I will place an acrylic block on top, let that sit for a few minutes. It does take a little bit longer for die cut pieces to adhere to a specialty finish. And the snowflake die also cuts out some small little circles. There's the teeny tiny circles and then two that are just a little bit larger. I'm adding them around the snowflake, but it is an option. You could leave them off. I love the extra little detail with those tiny pieces. I'll first add a small drop of Barely Art glue, and I'm picking up those teensy pieces using the wax tip end of Scrapbook.com's Craft Pro Pick tool. At the top of the ornament, I'm adding a red bow. And this bow is from Jaded Blossom's bow die set. Put glue on the back, adhere it down. I'll set the ornament aside for now and work on the background of the card. The embossed background would be perfect to simply add the ornament, but I want to add some extra detail. So I cut out 4 of the pine branches, and these are on the Build an Ornament die set. I use the same dark green cardstock I used for that background layer. And I'll fill this lighter green piece with lots of the dark green branches. Start by adding one in the upper left-hand corner. And this may have been easier to adhere before layering that lighter green on the background piece, since I'm cutting off the very edge flush with this lighter green paper. Next, I'll add one of the branches in the lower right-hand corner, and I held it up to the card, and with a pair of scissors, I trimmed off the end of the branch so it'll be flush on the right side. Now with the last 2 branches, I am cutting off just small pieces so I can fill the background. And before cutting them, I'll hold that piece up to the card to figure out the angle I need to cut on the very end, so it'll be on the edge of this light green piece. And I'll continue cutting small pieces of the branch until I fill this background. Now the very first branch that I attached in the upper left-hand corner, one of the pieces, I did put glue on the back, but I actually lifted it up just a little bit so it wouldn't attach, since I want it sitting slightly on top of the blue ornament once I adhere it down. And I will be popping up the ornament using more foam dimension. The foam strips I'm using are from Honeybee Stamps. I think they've been discontinued, at least in the white. I think they still have the black available. And if they are, I will link them in the description box below. These are a 1mm thick foam. I'm trying to use up some of the older adhesive and bling products I have in my stash. I'll remove the release paper from the foam, but before adhering the ornament, I want to attach the sentiment. I've already stamped and heat embossed Merry Christmas. And this sentiment is from Jaded Blossom's Elegant Holiday Greetings stamp set. I love this set for Christmas cards. I'll put glue on the back of the sentiment, adhere it at the top of the card. Then I'll place the ornament underneath. You can see just a little bit of one of the branches will sit on the edge of the ornament. For a final finishing touch, I'm adding a small jewel in the center of the red bow. And this jewel is from Pretty Pink Posh. It's their pearl white color. I'll first add some Barely Art glue, then pick up the jewel using the Craft Pro Pick tool. And I use one of the larger size jewels. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. I love the fun, patriotic look of this ornament. Now moving on to card design number 3. I've already cut the background of the card using some Doodlebug Design Petite print. It's this light teal with sort of a snowfall design on the background. I stamped Merry Christmas in the lower left-hand corner. And this is the same Merry Christmas I used for the previous card from the Elegant Holiday Greetings stamp set. I'm adding 2 of the pine branches, putting them across the card, and the very edge of the stem of the branch goes off the end. So I'll simply flip over the card, and with a pair of scissors, I'll trim off the overhang. This card will feature 2 of the ornaments, this time the round ornaments, and the pieces are from the Characters add-on set. I'll start by assembling a snowman ornament. I use white cardstock for the main background piece. And unlike many of Jaded Blossom's background pieces, you will see some of the cardstock. So you'll see the white for the snowman's face and also a tiny bit underneath that little topper area for the hook. For the snowman's hat, I used pattern paper from Doodlebug Designs' Night Before Christmas collection. This is an older collection that retired many years ago, but most of Doodlebug's Christmas collections are very similar, so I'm sure there's a red and green plaid paper or polka dot paper that's still available in newer collections. For the little pom-pom on the hat, I used some white shimmer cardstock. Cut out the carrot from orange cardstock. Use black for the eyes and also the mouth, since they're supposed to be little coal pieces. After adhering the carrot nose, next I'll add the eyes. And the eyes on this set have that little cutout area for the highlight. You could cut those out from another color and inlay that tiny piece, but I'm just adhering them down since it'll be a white background anyway. Now for the mouth, I wanted to keep all 5 of those pieces in the same design as the die. So once I cut them out, I put some mint tape on the back side. This is a light tacky tape from scrapbook.com. I first used the mint tape behind the die cut pieces when they were still in the die, and now I'll put another piece on the opposite side. Very carefully remove that larger piece of the mint tape, then put glue on the back of those individual pieces, place them on the snowman, and then carefully remove that second layer of mint tape. And now the 5 die cut pieces are in the perfect order. The next ornament I'm assembling is the reindeer, and I think this one may be my favorite image from the whole character set. I use a brown cardstock for the main ornament, a light tan for the reindeer's face. I use the same brown color for the ears, and I like how the ears are attached by that narrow bar. You simply put glue on that bar area, then place the round ornament on top. I use a light pink cardstock for the inside of the ears, a slightly darker pink color for the reindeer's nose. The eyes are the same as the snowman. I use black cardstock. And this is where I could have cut those out from white and then inlaid that little highlight area. But since they're going on this light tan color, I think it's still fine. Another option, if you really want that highlight area white, you could use a white gel pen and just very carefully color inside that small opening. And the final step, adding the antlers, and I used a lighter brown cardstock color for the antlers. I love the look of both of the ornaments, and there's not a lot of die cuts for them, so I think they would be easy to mass produce if you need a bunch of cute ornaments. Off screen, I did put foam dimension on the back. I'll remove the release paper and add both of the ornaments over the pine branches. The snowman ornament will go on the left side and the reindeer will go on the right. And I'm also putting the snowman just a little bit higher than the reindeer. I think the snowman looks better on the left side since he's kind of facing right. For a final finishing touch, I'm decorating the pine branches with some small gold stars. The star die is from the original Embellishment Cluster die set. I'm using the medium-sized stars, and I cut them out from some gold mirror cardstock from my stash. First, add that small drop of glue. Pick up the stars with the Craft Pro Pick tool, then press them in place. And since this is a specialty cardstock, even the back side has this same gold finish. It does take just a little bit longer for that glue to really adhere. It also didn't help that I have a little bit of glue on my fingers, so sometimes when I'm pushing down, it would get stuck to my finger. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. The new ornament dies are so cute. For card design number 4, the pattern paper is from Creative Expressions Woodware Snowscape collection. I selected this lovely blue tone-on-tone snowflake pattern for the background, and I cut it to A2 size. I've already stamped and glued down the sentiment Merry Christmas, and this sentiment is from Jaded Blossom's Christmas Signs Revamped stamp set. So this card will be featuring Santa in his sleigh. For the very background, I use gray cardstock. This is another piece that will be completely covered up. I use red cardstock for the main body of the sleigh. For the bottom of the sleigh, I use some silver mirror cardstock from my stash. And even though I am getting a little bit of glue on that piece with that silver mirror finish, once it dries, it wipes off so easily. I love using different specialty cardstocks, so I save all the little scraps, since sometimes all you need is a teeny tiny piece. Specialty cardstock with that foil finish can curl when you die cut it, so I will place an acrylic block on top for some added weight while the glue dries. Once the glue dries, that piece isn't going anywhere. For the very top edge of the sleigh, I'm using some green cardstock. Give it that very traditional Christmas color look. And for the final 2 pieces of the sleigh, I'm using more of the silver mirror cardstock. And these pieces only go down in one direction. I'm wiping away some of that extra glue since sometimes it comes through that faux stitched cutout area. So there's the sleigh all assembled. I'll set that aside and start assembling the sitting Santa. I use white cardstock for this main outline piece, and it will all be covered up. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this Santa has the traditional gnome hat, but I'm changing it to a Santa hat. And the Santa hat is included on Jaded Blossom's Gnome Die's Christmas add-on set number 1. Use red cardstock for the hat, and then the fluff area, I'm using some white glitter paper, so it's super sparkly. Also using red cardstock for Santa's coat. To assemble the Santa, I'm starting with the coat. Now, the top area will be covered up with a beard, and I decided to cut that area off since the red is a fairly thick cardstock. Next, I'll attach the beard. And I know you can't really see it in the video, but I did ink up the edge of the beard and the mustache using some light gray ink. When attaching the beard, the very bottom area, I don't want it adhered down since it will be overlapping the bottom edge of the sleigh. For the mustache and the nose, there is one outline piece. That way you know how to assemble it. And I just use white cardstock for that. I'll adhere it down. Then I'll attach the individual mustache piece. But before adding the nose, I want to adhere the hat. And as you can see, this hat does not line up with the traditional hat. So I will need to trim off that extra cardstock area. I'll put glue on the back, adhere the Santa hat down. I need to put a little more glue behind the fluff area of the hat and then hold it in place. And now I'll add the nose, and I am popping it up using some small foam squares. I'll remove the release paper and adhere the nose right above the mustache, and part of the nose will also go in front of the fluff area of the hat. So here's what the Santa looks like sitting inside the sleigh. And as I mentioned earlier, you can only add the sleigh on a horizontal A2 size card. If you have a larger size card, then you could do it vertically. Since Santa's pants and his boots won't be visible, I am trimming off that area. So don't be alarmed, no harm came to this Santa. For Santa's bag of gifts, I use brown cardstock, and I did ink up the edges with some brown ink. I also use a darker brown ink for the tie on the bag. Next, I'll assemble his arms. Use the same red cardstock for the coat sleeves and a skin tone for his hands. The skin tone cardstock I use for the Santa is from Concord and Ninth. It's the Nectar color. The two arms that are included in the set, one is out straight and the other is slightly curved. There's also the option of adding mittens instead of the bare hands. So there are all the die cut pieces assembled. Now I need to put the bag of gifts and Santa inside the sleigh. On the back side of the sleigh, I'm putting some clear double-sided adhesive tape. I'll remove the release paper. I'll hold the sleigh up to the card. Want to make sure all the die cut images stay within the boundaries of the card. The bag of gifts will go on the back side, and Santa will go in front. I'm not pressing down completely. I want to make sure I can still adjust the two die cut pieces. I'm putting the bag of gifts at an angle, and part of it is poking out from the side of the sleigh. So I'll just use a pair of scissors and trim that area off. Santa will go in the front of the sleigh, and I'm putting just the bottom of his beard over the edge of that green trim. On the back side, I did put some glue to attach the bag and Santa together. Now to hold all those die cut pieces in place for now, I'll put more clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back side. And I'll also pop up that little fluff pom-pom area of his hat, just adding a small foam square. It took me a minute to get the little backer piece off that foam square so I could sneak it behind the little pom-pom. So now it's time to add Santa's arms. The curved arm will go in front of the sleigh. I'll put a little bit of glue behind the top area of the arm and tuck it in underneath his beard. I'll also pop up his hand using another foam square. The straight arm will go on the other side. I'll put a little bit of glue on that top area of the arm, place the sleigh with the Santa on top, and I have the arm upward. Looks like Santa's either waving or sort of pointing to the Merry Christmas sentiment. I'll add a small piece of the clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back to secure that other arm in place. And then I'll add foam dimension behind the Santa and sleigh. And I did that off screen since it took me a little bit of time. Wanted to make sure to get all those areas covered with foam. When adding the sleigh with the Santa down, I have it at a slight upward angle, making it look like it's flying in the snowy sky. And for a final finishing touch, I'm using a white gel pen, adding a few highlights on Santa's hat and also his sleigh. So there is my finished card. I think this one turned out super cute, and I did make 2 using this design. I thought about it later, but I think it would be cute to put a present in Santa's hand that's over the edge of the sleigh. I have a couple more card designs to share with you, but I didn't record the process. This card features the new Noel stacked word die and also the Christmas tree stencil. I use that for the background. For the polka dot panel, I cut it out using Jaded Blossom's Pennant Topper die set, but I did trim off that very top edge. Card design number 6 features another adorable mouse. I gave him a little Santa hat, and he's holding a Christmas stocking. And the stocking die is from Jaded Blossom's Christmas banner die set. And I also assembled one of the MDF pieces with the mouse. This is the MDF piece with the stand. And I love decorating the top of that stand piece. And Jaded Blossom does have an MDF Standing Base die set that cuts out the perfect piece. The final 2 projects, I used the Round Ornament MDF piece. I made a Santa and also a gingerbread man. For the icing on the gingerbread man, I used some glossy cardstock, so it has this lovely shine. And on the back side, I did add sentiments from the new From Our Tree to Yours stamp set. So on the Santa, it's a handmade ornament just for you. And on the gingerbread man, it's ornaments are like friendships, each one unique and treasured. And on each of the ornaments, I added some twine from my stash. Now here's another look at the 13 cards and projects I made using Jaded Blossom's brand new Christmas release. This is an adorable release. Lots of great products. If you're currently working on Christmas cards or you want to get ahead on Christmas cards for next year, you will love this release. You can always save by purchasing the full release package, and I do have that linked below. And I also have links for the other products I used in this video, unless it's something retired. Jaded Blossom never disappoints with their fun releases, and I think this one will be super popular. And if you are shopping, make sure to check out the rest of their MDF pieces. They offer a wide variety that work perfectly with many of their dies. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.